Bienvenue everyone, I'm Ariel with Urbanist, and right now we are in Galería Borghese in Rome. This is one of the most prestigious museums in the entire world, with one of the most beautiful artworks by Bernini. This is David by Bernini, John Lorenzo Bernini, who we talked about already past two episodes of Mysteries of the Eternal City. He is one of the top artists of the Baroque era. Now, the interesting thing about Bernini is that he made the same figure that Michelangelo did only about 60, 70 years before him. However, Michelangelo's David is stoic, serious, in contemplation before the battle. But Bernini's David is breaking off the confines of contemplation, breaking off the confines of stillness, and right in the middle of motion. This was unprecedented by the time of Bernini's era, kickstarting the Baroque. You can see here that he's about to sling towards Goliath's head. Hello everyone, I'm Ariel with Urbanist, and let's walk around this beautiful gallery. I'm going to show you a few works of Bernini we talked about in the past two episodes. Check those episodes out if you want to know more backstory about him. He's a very interesting figure. Let's learn more. Now for one of the most beautiful sculptures you'll ever see. Apollo capturing Daphne. But however, Daphne isn't allowing herself to be captured by Apollo. Because Daphne is about to turn into a tree. Also, I am handheld, so pardon the shakiness. Now, the myth of Daphne and Apollo is that Apollo is also the god of archery. And he was hanging out one day with Eros. Eros is also known as Cupid, who also uses a bow. However, Apollo is a serious archer, at least in his eyes, and he was making fun of Eros for being kind of using the bow for not the best reasons, for kind of fanciful reasons, as opposed to war and defending one's honor. So Eros got pissed off, and he got two bows. He got one golden one and one made of lead. The golden one he shot right into Apollo, making him passionately fall in love with the first woman he set eyes on, which was Daphne. However, Apollo shot Daphne with a lead arrow, and that lead arrow made Daphne feel absolute hatred and repulsion against Apollo. That was a very awkward situation because Apollo was chasing Daphne, absolutely deeply in love with her. But Daphne wanted nothing to do with Apollo, was utterly repelled. So Apollo kept chasing her until he finally got up to her. And this is the very moment that Bernini captured, right when Apollo is about to grasp Daphne. Let me show you. He's about to grab Daphne. However, Daphne is the daughter of a river god, Ladon. And she asks Ladon to not let her be married off and not to let her be captured by Apollo. She begged and begged and begged, wished to the gods, and Ladon obliged. He obliged by letting Daphne turn into a tree the moment that Apollo grabs onto her. And Bernini captured that very moment as if it was a picture frozen in time. And right there you see her turning into a tree. Her hands are turning into leaves. Her clothing is turning into bark. Her feet are digging roots. And even Apollo, as he even touched Daphne, he doesn't even get any chance to touch her skin. He touches only the bark. Now this is unprecedented in sculpture because, as I mentioned, Michelangelo and the ancient Roman sculptors, ancient Greek sculptors, and sculptors all around the world always did things very still. But this one is right in the middle of motion, right in the middle of the action. And it's 3D, so usually sculptures would be facing the walls, like the ones we see here that are anywhere from Renaissance era all the way to ancient Greece and ancient Rome. Always facing the wall. They're not 3D, they're not meant to be in the middle of the room. But this begs to be in the middle of the room. Donald says, beautiful, yeah. You can see that David, or the Pietà, and that this is not to kind of disregard their work, but to kind of highlight how art really did a huge leap forward with Bernini and his contemporaries, because his predecessors, they had a steady foundation on the bottom. They felt steady. It felt like the sculpture was there to stay forever, like these ones over here. See over here? But this one, it doesn't seem so steady. It could fall at any moment. But Bernini is way more of a better craftsman than that, so he made sure that it had perfect supports. But it's hard to kind of even gauge what is supporting what. How is the sculpture still standing? Literally. Now, of course, if you're a sculptor nowadays, it's kind of obvious why it's still standing, but imagine yourself going back to those late 1600s, the age of Bernini, as he highlighted this, as he premiered this. People would be scratching their heads. You can see the leaves. Even Apollo, as he's trying to approach her, the leaves are stopping her. She's turning into a tree. His clothing is kind of all flying away, almost like if it's in the middle of the action. Now, this is a huge step in art because showing the action actually took centuries to do. Even in other art forms, like in comic books, for example, showing the middle of the action only was innovated in 1980s Japan. So we take art that we have now for granted. We have our epic movies like The Avengers, these massive sci-fi films like Star Wars that show lightsabers and space cannons and huge, massive machinery and superpowers. But all of that really started in the past century. And Bernini is probably one of the biggest reasons why we have this art in motion that end up being followed through with comic books, with movies, with photography. Alright, let's move on. I can stare at this all day. Let me know where you're watching from if you've seen this before. Yep. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Another Borghese. Another Bernini in the Borghese. Lots of B's. Bernini, Borromini, Biamenti, Borghese. Borghese was a cardinal, one of the main patrons of these artists. He was actually one of the major patrons of Caravaggio. He's the reason why Caravaggio ended up becoming so popular. We'll see, hopefully, one of his paintings soon. But look at this. Donald, yeah, you know what? In modern day sensibilities, if you were to make this building today, some people do, and people call it gaudy. People call it ostentatious. And I was thinking about that because having paintings that imitates architecture or reliefs is today seen as ostentatious, as kind of low end. But in the Renaissance era, late Renaissance era, this was the height of luxury. And no rope around. There's a tiny little rope, but you can get very, very up close. Is Daphne, sorry, I keep saying Daphne, no, pronouncing it in French. Daphne, is she from the Strauss opera? I'm not entirely sure. I don't recall that Strauss opera, but if anyone knows, let us know. Someone saying shush in the background? Yes. They're okay with shooting photos, videos. They have time entrances, a limited amount of people, so tickets sell out very quickly. You see it's not overly crowded. So you do have a peaceful experience for 2 whole hours. The museum is not that big, so 2 hours is more than enough time to kind of enjoy everything. Hello, Millicent. And it is in gaudy, yeah. I agree. At least with this building, I don't find it gaudy at all. I find it actually gorgeous. Let us know what you think. It actually smells really good in here, and it's also very amazingly air conditioned. So if you are coming here right in the middle of summer, it's a great retreat from the heat. So here we have another scene in the middle of the action made by Gian Lorenzo Bernini, which is Neptune grabbing onto Neptune grabbing onto Proserpina. I absolutely love it. Now, this is often called the rape of Proserpina. However, rape might be a little bit of a strong word in the original Greek. A lot of people, it also translates into the abduction, Proserpina. The reason Neptune wanted to abduct Proserpina is because Neptune was in love with what ended up being the wife of Zeus. So Zeus ended up marrying Neptune's lover. And Neptune was pissed off and jealous and desperate. So Neptune tried to find some woman to seek after, and his target was Proserpina, who was kind of the second best after the lover of his, which I actually don't know her name, so let us know in the comments if you know her name. So Neptune sought the hand of Proserpina, but Proserpina did not want Neptune. She didn't want to live in the sea, so she ran away from him. As you can see, Bernini probably had something going on with his romantic relationships, because I told you about the story of him in a jealous rage against his brother in the last live video, Santa Maria de Vittorio. You can kind of see that theme kind of run along with a few of his statues. The muscles are beautiful. Yeah, let's get very close. Let's do it. Let's see how close we can get. Now that's the interesting thing, is look at how the hands are digging into the flesh of Proserpina. It's so real looking that you almost feel like she is a real woman. It's almost kind of, for a moment there, you forget that this is marble and you think that's real flesh. Another little detail is the toes. Look at how Proserpina's toes are kind of like itching away from him. Her entire body wants to be away from Neptune. She's curling her toes in kind of anguish. While Neptune's body is all facing Proserpina. And the beard is amazing. I agree. There's a three-headed dog right behind Neptune. I think they're the guardians of the underworld, if I'm correct. Right? So real. Look at that. Now, I can talk about the other sculptures, but we've seen this all around the Met. We've seen this all around other museums I've shown you in London, Victoria and Albert. These sculptures, as I mentioned, very still. This is the highlight. If you come here, feel free to stare at this, because the other sculptures you can kind of see anywhere else. They're very plentiful, but when it comes to Bernini, he's truly one of a kind. There's not that many others that can claim to be as dynamic, as innovative as Bernini. One more walkthrough, and then we're going to go to the next room, find ourselves some Caravaggio and some Canova. Alright everyone, let's continue. So happy so many people are tuning in. Sorry for the shakiness. I am going handheld because they do a bag check, so you see no one is using a bag, but they allow video, which is nice. So let me know if you have any questions. We're going to keep on going because I think I'm going to run out of time, so we're going to go a little bit more quicker. Find that Caravaggio and find that Canova. Let's go. And here I won't get lost, don't worry. And you're right, Lynn. Thank you so much for the reminder to keep on moving. Hello, Edward. So here we have a very interesting Bernini. This is half Bernini, because Bernini made, this is an ancient Roman sculpture, a copy of ancient Greek sculpture that's all around the realm. It's a, wait for it. So on the back side, it looks like a beautiful, bodacious woman. But if we go around, I think they placed it by the wall on purpose. So we can't see it, but if you go all around, if we were on the other side, you would see a very large penis. And it's because that is not a woman. nor is it really a man. It's a intersex person. It's a hermaphrodite. Bernini was tasked with kind of updating the sculpture and adding the pillow, the cushion right behind this, beneath this hermaphrodite. This hermaphrodite is seen all around the ancient Greek and Roman world. It's kind of like a funny little sculpture that a lot of people like to put, kind of fool you, like, ooh, beautiful woman, but no, she has more. Bernini just added a nice little cushion to her. But I think they purposefully placed it the other way so you won't see that it's not a beautiful woman. And I mean, no offense whatsoever to people of other genders. That was the sense of humor back in the ancient Greek and Roman times, and all the way to the Renaissance. Another Bernini. Oh, I love that painting. Wow. What is this? I love like these landscape paintings, especially portrait mode. Wow, I gotta put this on my phone. Here it is. Okay, everyone, I think I found my souvenir. I'm buying this painting. I mean, not the painting, I'm buying like a print of the painting. Bernini did paint. He was also an architect. He had one, huge failure with the Basilica, but, it was his kind of arrogance that got in the way. But beyond that, Bernini was actually a pretty good architect, and he was also a really good painter. I haven't seen any of his paintings yet, so maybe I'll bump into one. But yeah, note to self, I'm gonna get myself a print of that. That looks so cool. Painting reminds me of one of my favorite painters of all time, Frederick Edwin Church. One of my top painters ever. He paints these like huge landscapes. Usually the persons are very tiny. It's very nice to see kind of this date back even further into the Renaissance, because Frederick Edwin Church was more kind of late 1800s. It was probably like, you saw late 1700s, late 1600s. So you can see the difference with the difference between ancient Roman sculpture. There is action here, right? He is digging his hand into the mouth of this beast. However, the action is still not as vibrant, as dynamic, as in your face. There is kind of a steadiness on the bottom here. That's why, you might come into this museum and think to yourself something about those sculptures of Bernini. They stick out, but you can't really put words to it. But I think once you realize that is the key, is that motion, I think that really makes things a lot much clearer. It definitely did when I was researching Bernini. Fernando Bodero is your favorite painter. They have gallery work in Rome. Yeah, let us know. Who is your favorite artist? Artist in terms of painting or sculpture? Who is your favorite artist? For me, it's Frederick Edwin Church, but I'm now a big fan of Bernini. Bernini is gorgeous. But yeah, let us know. Who is your favorite painter or sculptor? And George, I did say 5:30, 5:45. Rome time, remember. I'm in Rome time. Yeah, he does look pretty calm despite his hand digging into a beast. Oh, and we have ended. Wow, we've seen the entire gallery. Is there a second floor? So we just did the entire round about, and now we're kind of in the last room. I'm not entirely sure if there's another floor. Let's check it out. But here we do have a Caravaggio, and I'll show you the Canova as well. Lou, say Frida Kahlo and Georgia O'Keeffe. Fun fact: my aunt is one of the top experts of Frida Kahlo in Latin America. She's already written 2 books on Frida Kahlo, one of them about her ties to the revolution. And constantly does lectures in the Blue House, the Casa Azul of Frida Kahlo. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen, the painting of Caravaggio. Now, if you remember Mysteries of the Eternal City, #1, our broadcast of the Pantheon, Caravaggio was on the run because he murdered a man and he had an altercation with one of the knights of Malta. So I ran out of service. I hope it comes back if you're still watching the replay.